Top Wiki basically started 5 years ago with First Lady Michelle Obama visiting Cambodia and launching her Let Girls Learn initiative, which now has evolved into the Girls Opportunity Alliance. And as a scientist, having children, I think, what is the very first thing that we should probably teach every child on earth? And in my opinion is probably we should teach every child on earth what is the difference between matter and energy. And here's the interesting thing. We can't really talk about matter without talking about mass. So then the next assumption we can make is, who talks a lot about mass? Newton talks about mass. Einstein talks about mass. In a very vague, abstract way, Darwin talks about mass. And so then the next question is, after we get done talking about energy and matter, what's the difference? And without getting into dark energy and dark matter, astrophysics, we introduce the concept of mass. Force equals mass times acceleration, E equals mc squared. I think the third biggest question that every child on earth probably would naturally ask is, well, what is the difference between energy and genes? And then you start talking about nuclear science, nucleus versus nuclei, and then it really gets down to this point where you can't really talk about anything that self-replicates, a life form, without labeling it both an energy and a gene form simultaneously. And then that breaks down at the point of talking about things that don't self-replicate. The surface of the earth, due to energy gene forms being on its surface, does build up fossil records over time and basically fits the definition of self-replication, but without having any genetic material involved in that process as far as we know. Crystals self-replicate, again, without any genetic material that we understand. And so this, as a scientist, is kind of what I do. I look at my work from 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 or 3 days ago, 1 year ago, and I think about it, and what I've sort of said all along is you do kind of get to this point where you have to realize that these expressions are driven by either industry, the invention of electricity and other things, or they're driven by the desire to invent things in the future, like AI languages and the promotion of weight management and the promotion of deep space exploration. Just having goal orientation involved in this process will, in theory, over time, radically alter the symbology expressions, which concepts we choose to teach first and why, and will ultimately, obviously, change which things we'll discover. For example, all sorts of particular things had to have been discovered to create the smartphone, driven by the desire to create better and better smartphones. So if we want to create better and better public health systems and promote deep space exploration, and eventually, with respect to the global goals, the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals promote, let's say, lifespans of 150 years and a universal machine language, then we actually have to start, interestingly enough, creating assumptions. So what I've said all along is, I'm pretty sure mass has something to do with multiple fission. The definition from microbiology and the definition from nuclear science that was directly borrowed from microbiology, a field that was invented second after the field of microbiology. So I think we also have to create modulated scientific expressions, like most mass is somehow created from multiple fission. Maybe not all, but maybe most. And again, these are my perspectives. Hope you enjoyed this.